It's October 9th, 2020, which means it's John Lennon's birthday. He would have been 80 years old today. It's also Sean Lennon's birthday, who's 45, John's second son with Yoko. So a little bit of a book showing and a little bit of some records by Sean at the end here, because he's an interesting musician in his own right. We're going to talk about in his own right, John Lennon's in his own right. If you haven't already, David and I did a video, a long hour and 10-minute video on the music, the discography of John Lennon, and we really get into it, and we just have a light conversation. Check it out, watch it in stages. If you can't take an hour and 10 minutes, be patient, stick it on, have a cocktail, pour yourself a drink, smoke a joint, whatever, watch that video. It gets a little emotional. I realized we got a little emotional when we talked about what happened on that day 40 years ago this December. What a year, right? 2020. Fucked up year in so many ways. But let's celebrate John Lennon today. The Gimme Some Truth collection comes out today. That's the remastered ultimate mix that Sean worked on with others. Now, if you already have the songs, maybe you don't need this version unless you're a completist like myself. So if you don't, it might be a beautiful collection to check out, depending on which volume you want to go with. So let me just start out reading from John Lennon's 1964 book from March 1964, In His Own Right, Simon & Schuster copy, first printing, with intro by Paul McCartney, with a great cover photograph by the great Robert Freeman, who photographed With the Beatles, Help, A Hard Day's Night, Beatles for Sale, and Rubber Soul. Great photographer. I wandered. On balmy seas and perny schooners, on strivers and warming things, in a peanut coal shed clad, I wandered happy as a Jew to meet good Doris King. Past Grisby trees and hulky builds, past Rattle's broader sheep, in a rescue baby stooped, I wandered hairy as a dog to get good bites sleep. Down Hovey lanes and stony claves, down Ricketts and Sticky's myth, in a fatty Hebrew girth, I wandered Humphrey as a sock to meet bad Bessie Smith. 1964, The Riding Beetle. This was a huge hit in 1964, as you can imagine. The Riding Beetle, this is another edition, but here we go, In His Own Right. The second book he did in 1965, just before the summer, as Help was coming out, is A Spaniard in the Works, another photograph by Robert Freeman. And these books contains his witticisms, his broken up English, really interesting Lear type of speak, John Lennon speak, witticisms, liver putty, and his illustrations. So these are just really fun books in his own work. And then, of course, a collection that contains both of them, a later edition with the great Robert Freeman photograph again. This combines both editions, both books. And then a later edition of In His Own Right and A Spaniard in the Works. This one sports a cover by the photographer Robert Whitaker of John. And then yet another edition with a photograph of the both of them, a paperback edition. And then lastly, a Japanese edition with Obi. And of course, if it's a Japanese edition, it's in Japanese. So we wish John a happy birthday. In His Own Right, Spaniard in the Works. Happy birthday, John. We miss you. But we have your music. So let's talk about Julian. No, let's talk about Sean. I'm sorry. Julian, hey. We send our thoughts out to Julian too, and Yoko for John's birthday. Our love and just good vibes to them, because John gave us so much. Anyway, Sean, this was Sean's first album. I know he thinks fondly of it, but it's nothing like he would go on to do. It's a very indie, intimate record, but it's a nice record. I quite like it a lot. I got it on CD and eventually picked up the vinyl copy, which is, I think, pretty rare. And it is called Into the Sun. And This is Sean Lennon's debut. I'm not showing some of the productions he's worked on because he's worked with groups like the Black Angels and other bands he's produced too. But then him and his girlfriend, Charlotte Kempfel, started putting some music together. And they did this album, La Carotte Bleue, which includes a one cover song by Serge Gainsbourg. And this is a lovely blue edition. I saw them at the Great American Music Hall in 2014, and I got this signed copy, as you can see. Interesting record. They were great live, really good. Obviously psychedelically prog. She's a great bass player, a musician, and he's become a really good guitar player on the modified Jaguar Jazzmaster most of the time. Really like him, influenced by his dad, has sort of that nasal voice of his dad, but really interesting and very progressive. And I like that he's kind of carrying on the mantle in his own way. And this is kind of a fun record. So, The Ghost of the Saber-Toothed Tiger, La Carotte Bleue, that's the project that they call themselves. And then, of course, the album that some of you who've been following them may know better. This is Midnight Sun, The Ghost and the Saber-Toothed Tiger. This is the one they were touring when I saw them in 2014. And this is on Chimera Music, which I believe Sean and Yoko are partnership. Chimera also has been reissuing the Yoko Ono catalog, and they have other artists as well. Maybe Siba Mehta, which Julian, Sean, totally different people. I apologize. Really good record. I like this a lot, and really heavy cardboard stock, and very psychedelic. And of course, the last couple years, Claypool, Lennon Delirium with Les Claypool, formerly of Primus. I had never been in the Primus, but when I saw them live touring this record, his bass playing, actually touring this record, his bass playing is amazing. He just sits there like this, and he's very melodic on the bass. Sean was great. This is, again, a signed copy. Les and Sean. Monoliths of Phobos, proggy psychedelic, really cool record. Then they did an EP, a 10-inch record with some live tracks, many of which I saw that they play when I saw them live. They do a bunch of covers within it, not a lot, but maybe 4 or 5 depending on the set list, I'd imagine. But they did Astronomy Domain, which is the Pink Floyd song, In the Court of the Crimson King, obviously King Crimson, Boris the Spider, the Who song, and all 3 of those are on this EP. When I saw them, they also did a great cover of Tomorrow Never Knows. You could tell that Sean really likes the psychedelic side of his father's music. Although one of his favorite solo songs is Mind Games, I've just heard an interview. And then the last record they've done so far, Claypool and Delirium, South of Reality. Totally prog psychedelic again, and a really fun record. So just want to say happy birthday, Sean. Happy birthday, John. We miss you. Go check out the full video. I'll put a link of the full video we did on John Lennon's discography. But happy birthday, and Mazzy loves you.